Hi, today I want to talk about something that took me the longest time to understand. Now, for the longest time, I felt like there was something off about my life, especially my relationships. There were times I would just feel so disconnected. There were times I could not express myself. There were times that I just felt numb all of a sudden. And I see people happy in their relationship, but I could not relate to it. And I started thinking, is something wrong with me? Like, is something wrong? I kept asking myself this question, is something wrong with me? It wasn't until I discovered what childhood emotional neglect is before I actually realized that, okay, there is nothing wrong with me. The problem is not with me. I was not the problem. Now, childhood emotional neglect is not about what happened to you during childhood. It's more or less what did not happen to you during childhood. So if you grew up in a home where your emotions were not validated, there was no room for you to express your emotions, there was no mutual communication between you and your parent or your caregiver, or where love was not publicly shown, like love was not shown, there was no expression of love in your family or wherever you grew up in, then there's a high chance that you also experienced childhood emotional neglect. And so today, this is what I want to talk about. I'm going to be sharing my experiences and also how it has shown up in my adulthood and the little steps that I have been taking to heal from this. So let's get right into it. Now, childhood emotional neglect is when a parent or a caregiver fails to respond to the emotional needs of a child. And what are these emotional needs? The child feeling heard, the child feeling loved, the child feeling seen, the child feeling understood, the emotions of the child being validated, the child given the chance to play and have fun because it's a child, right? And also like mutual communication between the parent and the child. Okay, and childhood emotional neglect is actually nothing like physical neglect, because when it comes to physical neglect, you can tell that, okay, there is something happening in the home of this particular child, that there's just something wrong. Either the child is looking malnourished, the child is not well dressed. You can just tell that, okay, this is physical neglect, right? But when it comes to emotional neglect, you can't see it. It's invisible. Literally, it's there, you feel it, but you cannot see it. And so children that actually experience childhood emotional neglect do not even know that they are not being raised the right way. They feel like because they have the basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, then everything is fine, even though they don't feel okay on the inside. There's something still feeling, not like something feels amiss, but then like, I have the basic needs, so everything should be fine, right? And that's the idea we all carry until we get to adulthood, and then we begin to realize that, okay, something is wrong. How I show up in my relationships, something is just wrong. Like, something is not adding up, okay? And so how do you know if you actually grew up with childhood emotional neglect, or how can you tell that you actually experienced this thing that I'm bringing to you today? Now, number one, if you grew up with authoritarian parents, parents that they just want you to do whatever it is they tell you to do. They don't care. It's like they don't care. There's a place of a parent commanding the child or telling the child what to do, but in a place where it's very authoritative, like they are very dismissive of your feelings. They don't care if what they're asking you to do hurts you in any way in particular. That's not right. Another sign is you were raised by parents who did not appreciate your efforts. They just want you to do. There's nothing wrong. There's always a balance to this, right? There's nothing wrong with a parent wanting a child to do good or to do better at school or at work, at anything they are doing. But then when the parent is not acknowledging that, okay, I see that you are trying, I see you're doing great, I see you're putting in your efforts and all of that. If they did not acknowledge your efforts, if they were not appreciative of your efforts, no matter how little, even during house chores, and then you do the house chores, but then it's like there's no appreciation, there's no simple thank you. You didn't grow up like getting used to people just thanking you for doing random stuff for them. There's a problem somewhere. And also, if you were raised by parents that were barely around, okay, I follow under this. If you were raised by parents that were barely around, and to make things worse, let's say you are the firstborn or you are like the elder sibling, right? And so you have to, because your parents are not around, you have to cater for your younger ones, and that means that you were not given the chance to be a child during your childhood. That's very painful. I'm so sorry if you experienced that. I'm so sorry. But let's move on. Now there are so many other signs of childhood emotional neglect, and I cannot mention all of them because you get bored. But then a sign of childhood emotional neglect is that during childhood, your parents, maybe you are sharing something personal with your parents, or just something that really meant, a lot to you, and you are sharing it with your parent or your caregiver, but they did not give you attention. They were dismissive of. They showed little attention, little care about what goes on in your life or what went on in your life at that particular time. Also, let's say you were called oversensitive, or you were said to be overreacting whenever you expressed your emotions. Let's say someone hurt you and then you cried, and because you cried because someone hurt you, they start calling you oversensitive, that you are overreacting. And also, if you were given silent treatment as a form of punishment when you were young, that's very unhealthy. And I'm also sorry. This is just a general apology for every single person watching this video that experienced childhood emotional neglect. On behalf of your parents, I'm sorry. On behalf of your caregivers, I'm so sorry. But if you were given silent treatment as a form of punishment, then you also experienced childhood emotional neglect, because that's not the right way to correct someone. You cannot ignore me and say you are correcting me. And because you are correcting me because you love me. Whenever a disagreement happens, that means it's okay for me to give the silent treatment because I love this person, and I just don't want to talk to this person right now because of how I feel. And so I will ignore the person for the longest time, not communicating. That's unhealthy. And the crazy thing is, when this thing happens to us as kids, right? When probably during your formative years, when this thing starts happening, when you start experiencing all of this, you really don't know that anything is wrong, but your subconscious is getting messages and is registering messages in your head like, okay, so my feelings do not matter, so it's just okay for me to numb them. That's when maybe you were trying to express yourself and then you were shunned, and so you get the message that, okay, my feelings don't matter, so let me just keep to myself, let me numb my feelings. It's not okay to cry, it's not okay to express myself. It's in your formative years that you start getting all these mindsets that are lies. Let's say you grew up in a home where you were dismissed when trying to express or when trying to share something that happened to you. And so you get this, you register it in your subconscious that, okay, no one will ever understand how I feel, so I have to hide my problems from everyone. All these things, all these experiences, they are the ones that shape the beliefs that you hold today about yourself, the beliefs that you hold today about how you are to show up in the world, the beliefs that you hold today about how you show up in your relationships, your romantic friendships. It all starts from childhood. And childhood emotional neglect actually showed up for me in a very chaotic way in my adulthood. First off, I used to feel like I was asking for too much when I wanted to acknowledge my needs in a relationship. I'd tell myself stuff like, oh, they're already doing so much for me. They're being so nice to me. Like, it's not okay if I tell them that I want more attention, that they're not giving me enough attention. It's not okay to say that I'm just being a burden. Don't do that. That's what I'll tell myself. Also, it was a struggle for me to open up, for me to be vulnerable, for me to just say that, okay, I'm not okay right now. Like, it was just a risk I was never willing to take, because it felt like I was being a burden. I'll tell myself stuff like, oh, they're already going through so much. You don't have to burden them with your own. Who told you that you're a burden? You have friends for a reason. And I'm not saying there's a place wisdom is needed. In your relationships, wisdom is needed. I'm not saying that you should just show up and message your friend out of the blues and trauma dump on them. Okay, no, there's a place of asking, okay, it depends on how close, how intimate you are with this person. There's someone in my life that I can just call and rant. Not because I don't respect their feelings. Of course, I'll ask them, how are you? Do you have space right now to hear what I have to say? Or sometimes they can just even pick that something is wrong, and then they ask me, and then I open up. In the past, me open up. I wouldn't do that. I would not do that. And it was not even helping me. I would just die in silence. I would be dying inside, but I would not tell anybody. And it's not because I didn't have people around me that actually loved me. It's just because I did not love myself enough to open up. I felt like I was a burden. It was until last year, maybe every last year or 2 years ago, I had to start telling myself, baby girl, you are a gift. You are not a burden. Another way childhood emotional neglect actually showed up for me during adulthood was in people pleasing. People pleasing in your adulthood is also a sign that you experienced childhood emotional neglect. And for me, I was just not comfortable with the idea that someone is upset at me or someone doesn't like me. What do you mean you don't like me? I want you to like me. Please like me. That was literally how I felt. Like, it was just so uncomfortable for me. Like, it felt like I felt at that point in time that if someone didn't like me, then that means I wasn't worthy of love, or it just felt like it was taking something away from my self-worth. That was what I felt anyways at that point in time. I know better now, okay? If you don't like me, you're lost. How would you not like me? And the last one I actually want to share, that is so funny because I think of it now and it's so hilarious. But the most profound, would I say the most profound way now, or the most common way, or the pattern that I saw childhood emotional neglect like show up for me in adulthood was in my relationships. I always attracted the wrong people. I attracted emotionally unavailable people, and this was because that was what was familiar to me growing up. There was, would I say, I didn't grow up alone, but most of my childhood that I can remember, I was alone, right? I have elder brothers and they were in school, and so it felt like I was the only child at some point. And so and then, parents have to work, right? So it's just you at home as a child, just you. That was literally what I experienced, and I didn't have anyone to open up to. So like, by the time my parents get back from work, everybody's tired, they go to rest, so there was really no outlet for me to share or for me to express myself. So I ended up being an emotionally unavailable person, and I ended up attracting those kind of people because that was what I was familiar with. Distant, inconsistent, emotionally closed off people, because that was what felt familiar, just what I grew up with. And so if this sounds like anything that you have experienced, first off, I want to tell you there is nothing wrong with you. Of course, you can see that there's nothing wrong with me now. So there's nothing wrong with you. You're human. You grew up with the wrong experiences. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You just were not taught. You were not taught how to express yourself. You were not taught how to be human from a young age. And I'm sorry. But the great thing is you don't have to remain like this. You can unlearn. And you can learn, okay? And so for me, to be very honest, healing has been very rocky. You know the saying that healing is not linear, right? My healing has not been linear. There are some times I felt like, okay, like I'm good to go. And then I end up discovering that I'm slipping back into old patterns. I'm slipping back into these old narratives that I used to tell myself that I believed from childhood. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as I was aware that, okay, wait, baby girl, we're doing something that we should not be doing. We're believing something we should not be believing about ourselves. I was able to catch up, and I'm just going to share with you the things that really helped me in my healing journey. The first thing I had to do was actually practice acceptance. Now, since we now know what the problem is, we know that we are not the problems, okay? You are not the problem. It was not you. You had nothing to do with this. How could you have known that you were not raised the right way? How could you possibly have known? You could not. And so now that we know that we are not the problems, our minds would try to minimize it. Here's what I mean. Since you now know that, okay, you're not the problem, but then your mind will still try to tell you that, okay, yes, I did experience this, but maybe it wasn't that bad, maybe it wasn't my parents' fault. No one is saying it's your parents' fault. They did the best they could with what they knew. Some, anyways, this is not for all parents. Some parents are terrible. Not mine. But then your mind will try to minimize the experience and tell you that, oh, it's okay, I can live with it. Are you not tired? You want to keep living with it. You want to keep showing up. Do you not want to be healthy? So whenever your mind tries to tell you a narrative, or whenever your mind tries to minimize the experience, tell yourself that, okay, I see this is where the problem is, but I choose to not react this particular way. The second thing that I did, or I started doing, that really helped me was naming my emotions. Now, this was very weird for me at first, but then I had to come to a place where I was like, when I felt something in my relationships, when maybe something happened and I felt something, I had to start asking myself, okay, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? What actually triggered this feeling? What does this remind me of about my past, about my childhood? What narrative am I holding on to about this experience that is not right? So yes, you should actually try naming your emotions and asking yourself these self-reflective questions. Trust me, they help a lot. Sometimes I even write it down because I love writing. It just helps clear my mind. Writing really helps you to see the patterns, so you should try it too. Name your emotions, write them down. Be self-reflective, okay? Another thing I did for myself was to reparent my inner child. Now, at first it sounded so cringe, but then I had to picture my baby girl self. The little baby girl praise, don't imagine, no picture, it's just for me. I have to picture myself as a little kid, the version of me that didn't get the kind of emotional support that I needed, the part of me that did not get that, hug for my soul when I needed it when I was much younger. Now I talk to her. Now we are best friends. Now I don't shame her. I don't condemn her. I don't shame her for the things she did because of, what she experienced. Now I talk to her with love. I tell her that you matter. I tell her that she's a gift, that she's not a burden. I tell her that I love her so much and she's strong. I tell her that she's not too much. I tell her that her feelings matter because they do. I tell her that she's human and she should act like a human being sometimes, not like a robot. She should stop numbing her feelings. I tell her that she's worthy of love. I tell her that her self-worth is not from other people, that she was already worthy. Outside of the relationships, she has always been worthy of love. That's what I tell her. So you should try it too. Picture it, just try this, okay? Maybe in your... If you're not a weird human like me, this will feel very, very strange to you. But I advise you still do it either ways, okay? It's not for now. And so I feel like this is something that you should actually try for yourself. It will feel weird at the beginning, but whenever you catch that inner critic in your head, like it's just being like, oh my God, you're so messy, like you can't get anything right. The way you talk to yourself, how you've always been talking to yourself, because that's the way that your parents or your caregivers talked to you when you were small. Rephrase that, okay? And it's little by little, it's gradual. I'm not saying that because you watched this video today that by tomorrow morning you would sleep, you would wake up and then you'd be like, okay, I'm ready to go, and something happens and then there's no inner critic again. The inner critic still comes, but then I'm like, no, we don't talk to ourselves that way. We are worthy of love, and if we feel something, we should say it. That's how we talk to ourselves now. I mean, me and my inner child. Do you understand? I had to learn how to set boundaries without feeling guilty. Being someone that just really, I wouldn't even say valued, but I was obsessed with how much people accepted me without me accepting myself first. I just wanted people to like me. Like, I want you. It's so ridiculous now, but I was just like, I want you to like me. Like, please like me so I can feel like, okay, my existence matters. Please like me so I can feel like, okay, like I'm worthy of love. I had to learn how to set boundaries and be like, okay, if you're doing something that doesn't sit right with me and I've told you about it and you are still doing it, I'm not going to sit there in that kind of relationship, friendship, anything. I'm not going to relate with you after spelling out my boundaries, things that I'm okay with, things I'm not okay with, and you still continue doing it. I'm not going to remain there. I'm not doing that to myself. I love myself too much for me to do that. Let me share something with you guys. I went for NYSC. Now, for people in Nigeria, you would understand what NYSC is. If you are not a Nigerian and you're watching this, just browse what NYSC is, or I'll just show on the screen what NYSC is for you. But then I went for NYSC and I met this particular lady. She's an amazing human being and she might probably even be watching this video. I do not have anything against you, sincerely. We talked about it. And then during the program, I met this amazing young lady. We were friends, but then there was just something about her that she did that I wasn't okay with. I did not like, and that was how she spoke to me. I felt like we're friends, yeah, but your use of words, I do not like them. They are harsh. NYSC, they assign you to a PPA, right? That's your place of assignment. And so we were in different PPAs. And so there was no physical communication like there was in camp again. And then, but we still used to talk, and then she'd send me messages and everything. She'd reply to my status and everything. It's just like, you're abusing me. Like, talking about my height, talking about my complexion, talking about just, it was downgrading. And I was like, I had to tell her one day, I was like, baby girl, I don't like the way you actually comment on my status. I don't like how you sound. And if you continue like this, I would archive your chat. And she was like, hey, archive now, no wala. I said, okay. I continued posting, time went on, I'll post my thing, and then she would still, give that kind of degrading. I was like, I'm not okay with this. And so I archived her chat. I didn't block her because I'm not evil now. But then I just had to set that boundary for my... If you enter my archives, you are dirty forever. So I archived her chat instead, and that was it. Till there was this, I didn't even know she had been messaging me after. I did not see it. It was already in the archives. Even my normal chats, I find it hard to reply all my messages now. Not because of I'm feeling like a big girl, but just because like so much has changed about me now, and I'm so grateful to God sincerely. But then she was just in the archives. She was there for a long time. And there was, when we were now doing our POP, or maybe a few weeks before we finished the NYSC program, I went to my archives. I don't even know what took me to the archives, but I went to my archives and I saw her chat and I saw a couple of messages, and I was like, oh my God, she has actually been she had been texting me and I did not know, because it was in the archives, right? I saw that she sent me a message and she asked me why I had not been replying her messages, and I was like, oh, I thought I already told you earlier, and I referred back to the message I sent that I didn't like the way you were talking. And then she was like, oh, she didn't mean it like that, this and that. There are some people that sincerely don't know what they are doing is not making sense, and there are some that they know that what they are doing is not making sense, but they don't want to have sense. See, the ones that don't know that what they are doing is not making sense, you tell them, and if they still don't change, add them, just join them to the group of the ones that they know that they are not making sense but they don't want to change, and set your boundary. It doesn't mean that you're a terrible person. It just means that you respect yourself enough to protect your energy. Do you understand? The last thing that I actually did, and it's still even relating to boundaries, but this last thing that I'm going to share with you that I did that has really, really, really tremendously helped me as regards like healing from childhood emotional neglect is finding safe people. Now, before in the past, I was always like, and I think you can already tell from what I've said in this video that I was so obsessed. Like, I just wanted you to like me. I don't care if you are stepping on me. I don't care if you are bringing me down with your words, with your actions. I just wanted, like, so people can just see that, okay, I have this person in my life. Like, it will make sense. It doesn't make any sense. I sincerely had to start paying attention to how people made me feel. Like, after I have a conversation with you, how do I feel? Do I feel good about myself? Do I feel enlightened? Do I feel like, okay, this is something I need to work on? Do I just feel human? Sincerely, do I feel human, or I leave your presence and I end up feeling like, I don't even want to use a word, but I leave your presence and I end up feeling like, no. So I had to really pay attention. In finding safe people for myself, I had to pay attention. Okay, how does this person make me feel? Do I feel comfortable opening up to this person? How has this person responded to me in the past? Over time, that has, given me signs or giving me a picture of how they would react or how they will respond now. Do you understand? Ask yourself these questions. See, if you don't do it for yourself, nobody will do it for you. Okay? And so I just want to tell you that if you grew up with emotional neglect, there's nothing wrong with you, and you are not alone. You're not alone in this, and most importantly, you are not damaged. You can heal. It's not your fault. Whatever it is happened in your childhood. Don't hold on to it and let it define the rest of who you are and how you show up in the world today. Okay? It sincerely has taken me time, but I've come to understand and realize that just because I did not get the emotional support that I needed during childhood doesn't mean that I can't give it to myself now. I'm an adult. I would be my parent right now, emotionally. I'm sorry if that was sensitive for people that had to parent their younger ones, but don't get me wrong. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? reparent yourself. How you wanted to be treated when you were small, the kind of loving words you wanted to hear. Tell yourself the kind of actions, maybe your mom's coming back from work and you want her to buy you ice cream. When you're coming back from work, buy yourself ice cream. Show yourself love. You don't have to wait till someone does this thing for you. What are you doing now? Why are you sitting down just being all moody? And come on, get up for yourself. Come on now. And so if any part of this video resonated with you, if you feel like, oh my god, this video was for me, please let me know in the comments. Let's catch up, let's connect. Okay, I'm open to all forms of connection that have to do with healing. I'm not going to join you and brood over whatever happened in your childhood. No. If you're brooding and it's not leading you to healing, I'm sorry, I'm not joining you to do that. And so what part of your healing journey has been the hardest for you? The parts where you feel like, oh, you're over this, and then over time you see that, okay, you're still slipping back into old patterns. It's normal, like I said earlier, but just what part of you has been the hardest in this your healing journey? And let me just know what really resonated with you in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. I appreciate you. Once again, I'm sorry on behalf of your parents. What happened to you during your childhood? Nobody deserves that. If you know that this video was really helpful for you, you should definitely share it with whoever needs it, okay? Be it even your parents. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.